Hey y'all, welcome back to Babeinlibrary. It's your girl Lisa, and today I am filming my January wrap-up video, which I am ecstatic for. I read 10 books in January, and I'm gonna tell you now, I started off this year with a banger. Like, it was hit after hit after hit. One miss, but other than that, I mean, your girl is living her best reading life right about now. Before I jump into the books, I will say special shout out to one of my friends who is not a part of the BookTube community, but he watches my videos and gives me great critique and feedback. He encouraged me to buy a microphone, which I am testing out today. It's my first time, so it sounds amazing from my perspective, but I want you to do me a favor. Tell me in the chat what you think about the sound quality. Is it improved? Without further ado, let's just jump right into the books that I read this month. If you can see by the title, this month I had a running theme. So 6 out of the 10 books I read had toxic parents. Like, when I say toxic, I don't mean just like, oh, they're okay. No, I mean, these people need to pray about whether they're going to see the gates of heaven, because they are trash. 6 out of 10, which means that I probably should be in therapy discussing this, but this don't have nothing to do with me. My parents are great. These people parents, terrible. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. The first book I read this month was Hookshot by Kennedy Ryan. I have a vlog for this as well as reel. I will link it down below so that you all can watch my full thoughts on Kennedy Ryan. But I love this. This is the final book in the Hoop series. I gave it a 4.5. This centers Lotus and Keenan, and it's a love story that is very mature. I will say they're at 2 different phases in life. Lotus has some traumatic childhood experience that is really weighing heavily on her in her adult life, and really is putting her in a position where she wants to take a break from men. But that doesn't stop the connection that happens when she meets Keenan, and she's trying to fight it tooth and nail. But lo and behold, he is a part of this work campaign. So she is in the fashion industry, and he is a basketball superstar. And her boss finds that he is attracted to Keenan's arms, and he wants him for this watch campaign. So lo and behold, they are in a forced proximity situation where they have to be together, and Keenan does not let up. He's like, hey, Lotus, I know that you're saying you don't really want to deal with me, but I feel like you're the woman for me. And I read Real by Kennedy Ryan, which is a part of my 12 for 12. So this was recommended to me as a must read for 2023. And I'm so glad, because this was my first 5-star of the month. Whew. Kennedy Ryan brought me to tears with this one. This is the story of Cannon and Neva. Again, this is a workplace or office romance where you have a director who has fallen in love with the female main character that he has taken a chance on. She is an understudy in the Broadway scene, and he went to one of her shows, fell in love, and knew that this was the person that he needed to take his film to the next level. But he has vowed to never fall in love with an actress, especially one that is a part of his film. So there is a situation where they're denying their chemistry and they're trying to be professional, but you know, love wins at the end of the day. And knowing that sometimes you have to put yourself second to put your partner first. Kennedy Ryan does an exceptional job of making sure that you not only are in love with the characters, you are in love with their love. After I finished Real, I picked up a novella, which was For His Pleasure, Virgin Territory by Kimberly Brown. When I tell you, this was hit after hit after hit. You have a virgin hero, an experienced heroine who loves this man and wants for him to experience joy and happiness, and she wants him in his full state, right? She doesn't want just the sweet romance and to be cared and loved, but she wants him to experience pleasure. And this is where she goes out of her way to introduce him to things that he could never imagine and blow his mind. When I tell you Kimberly Brown put her foot into this, she takes so many things and brings it into aspects of a Black romance, right? So Declan, who is a virgin, he is irrevocably in love with Ivy, but he just is afraid to tell her that he's never had a sexual encounter with a woman. He's always been in love with her and watching her and knows the things that she likes, but he has been afraid to share with that part of himself with her. And Ivy just wants to be with her man wholeheartedly and wants to have joy and experience love in all of its forms with Declan, but doesn't know the secret that he's hiding. Once she finds out, she's like, don't worry, I'm going to make sure your first time is enjoyable and every time after, because she is experienced, right? She's a top. And you get to see that the real trust between the two characters. Declan is inexperienced, but he trusts Ivy to kind of show him the ropes. And when I do mean ropes, I do mean that there is quite a bit of bondage play. You get to see that it's a symbiotic relationship. They're always making sure at the end of the day, both of them are satisfied, which I think is exceptionally well done. We'll say Declan is sweet, but he is also strong. You get to see the balance, right, of him being a man's man and taking care of his woman, but also trusting her to show him, pleasure that he's always desired. Declan is a nerdy character, so she plays into that, and she mentions that she is in love with his intelligence and how she does a role play with Sailor Moon, which, I mean, go off, sis. I will say that I recommend this if you're looking for something hot, but also sweet. It gives you the best of both worlds. So after I read For His Pleasure, I read Eyes on Me by Sarah Kate. Now, this is the one that's going to shake the table because this is my lowest rated book of the month. I give this, I believe, a 2.5 or a 2.75 of Sarah Kate. I think that she is breaking barriers with the Salacious Players Club, and I'm going to continue to read the entire series. I have all 4 that are out now. I started with Praise, obviously the first in the series, gave it 4.5. This was a dramatic turn for me because I went from that 4.5 to a 2.5. And it wasn't because I didn't think Garrett and Mia deserved to be together and that the relationship works. I truly did. I think that Sarah tried to make sure that there was a healthy balance between the experience and the inexperience, the way in which the characters worked well together, and that they were able to have those sweet but also steamy scenes. But what I will say, the things that I truly disliked about this book, almost to the point where it frustrated me, was I feel like Sarah did an injustice to the characters by having conflict avoidance. And I mean in relation to, this is a forbidden relationship. There is an extreme age gap. I believe it's anywhere between 13 and 18 years, which is extreme. And they're step siblings. Granted, Garrett was obviously an adult by the time that Mia entered his life. But that doesn't stop the fact that your parents are married and have been married for quite some time. No world am I going to believe that everyone is going to be hunky-dory and pleasantly just over the moon about these two getting together. And you mean to tell me, mom is over the moon. She's like, oh, when are you all having babies, when you're getting married? And dad is like, oh, okay, cool. I'm a little upset, but it's all good. No, I would rather them live out and happily ever after bliss, not necessarily marriage, because I didn't think that was necessary for me, but I'd rather them be content in being in a relationship and still have the reality that someone doesn't like it and someone's not going to be happy and relationships are going to break apart and they deal with their own kid in one facet or another. I get it. We want the, oh yeah, sweet swoony feels, but let's bring it down to earth. And on top of that, I really was frustrated at the fact that there was no rhyme or reason that that Garrett could give to her to say, yeah, I saw you on a webcam and I knew you were the one. Like, I stopped seeing you as a little girl and I saw you as a woman. Like, give me more. Tell me. And again, I keep using give me more. I can't wait to get to that one. Like, that third one, this book, I know this was, again, a tangent, but one thing I will say that this book did, it set up perfectly for Give Me More. Like, the scene where I saw Hunter being possessive or jealous of Drake, and where Drake also started using the word we when referring to Hunter and Isabel, it let me know I need to pick that up immediately. But back to my rant, I will say I wanted there to be a reason, like something where either Garrett had like an inkling all along that he loved her, but the love was a little bit different. Like, I could take that, or the thought process of, you know, something being the reason why when he saw Mia on that cam, it clicked for him and he knew this is my woman. Like, I wanted that tie-in. And I know that sounds like the ick, but give me something other than I just wanted to see what was the interest in you, and then we kind of hooked up, and then I was like, oh, okay, let's do it. Like, that's not romantic to me. Speaking of kind of like forbidden love, but forbidden in the sense that these people just didn't want them together. Like, they deserve to be together. It is a childhood friends to enemies to lovers bully romance that I ate up like popcorn. 4.5 for Heartless Hero by Mary Catherine Gebhard. This is one of, like, this Crown Point series has me in a chokehold. Do you see how Theo has his hand around Abigail's neck? That is how Catherine Gebhard has me right now. Like, I'm hemmed up to the wall and I'm loving it. Like, this gave everything and more. This is toxic parents. You have Tansy, who I will tell you, if she was on fire, I would not tell Abigail to pick up a single pail of water to put her out. Like, I would tell her to think twice whether or not she really wants to help her mama out, because her mama wasn't doing her no favors. There is no love from Tansy Crown to Abigail or the rest of her children. And as I'm thinking about it, her siblings, they can eat a bag of you-know-whats too, because they're trash. Love them, want their stories independently, but in relation to how they treated Abigail, they ain't no good. I will say, this book really showed me the ways in which you could be blinded by love to the point of madness and rage, and then you're at that brink and something just reels you back. There is an Ice Cube scene in here that I was on a plane reading, and I was like in the chair, like squirming, moving, looking around to see if anybody else was paying attention to me, because baby, it did it. So, keeping along with the dark romance theme, then one of the next books that I read in Bad Guy by Kenya Gori Bell. This is my first time reading from this author, and I absolutely love this. Now, this is a start of a new series, but it follows the Mogul series. It has some tie-in to that. So I would say you can be a rebel like me and just start with Bad Guy if you want to. But if you really want to get a feel for some of the other characters that are mentioned in this book, you may want to start with the Mogul series first. They're shorter and they look a little bit lighter. That may be because of like the animated covers. But I will tell you, this is dark BDSM. Virgin heroine, obsessive hero. It has voyeur scenes, so it has quite a bit of stuff into that, but do not get it mistaken. These two characters do not fall in love willingly. They are not put into a situation where we're happily to be together. What really truly is happening, you've got Kiyoshi. He is your main male character. So this is a Black woman, Asian male romance. Kiyoshi has kind of been exiled from Japan. So all of his, primarily majority of his immediate family is, so his mother, his sister, his cousin. They live in Japan, but he has kind of been sent to the United States as a form of exile for him to take over this company that he's working with. And he is pretty much the boss man here. He goes in and he handles the day-to-day, but also oversees the acquisition of the company and the day-to-day practice. They're in like this tech company, and you have the main female character, Kyrie. Now, Kyrie star Michelin chef who has a renowned restaurant, and she takes care of her little brother because her parents died and left him in her care. And her little brother gets her into some hot water. So he is extremely smart, but as most smart but dumb children, they get into business that's nothing to do with. And he hacks into a company that company happens to be owned by Kiyoshi. And when he hacks into it, he kind of puts them out of business for a few days because they're trying to figure out what's going on. Well, Kiyoshi finds out that the person that he has been kind of infatuated with this entire time is responsible for the person that's been hacking into his company. So what does he do? He says, hey, I could either send your brother to jail or you can pay off his debts. And she's like, well, he has a future ahead of him and I want him to be able to go on and do great things. So I'll be your personal chef. I'll be indebted to you. She used the word, I'll do anything, right? And of course, when you say you'll do anything, that means it's open season. And Kiyoshi uses that to his advantage because some reason he's attracted to this woman and he physically has an obsession with her and he wants to break her. This has a little bit of everything for everyone. I believe I gave this maybe a 4-star. Next 2 books I read in a series, which was Heated, and then the second in the book is Ravaged. This is by Naima Simone. So Heated is a fake dating relationship that turns into real feelings. You have Cyrus and Zora. Zora owns a company with her siblings in which they are providing a breakup service. So instead of a matchmaking service, it's the opposite. It's allowing people to have some assistance in knowing how to break up with their significant other without having any damage, fallout, or awkward situations. So Zora goes and she's, commissioned to break up with Cyrus for one of her clients. And Cyrus then is like, hey, who is this woman getting into my business? Now, Zora doesn't want to tell him that she was hired. So she just says, I'm a friend. And he's like, he sees her out doing the same thing with another gentleman in a restaurant. And the other gentleman is like getting in her face and getting aggressive. And he's like, let me step in. But when I step in, I'm going to make you tell me, hey, do you just like doing this? Like, do you get your kicks off by breaking up other people's happy relationship? Because Cyrus, while he doesn't love the woman that he's in a relationship with, he has a desire for what he wants out of life. He wants to become partner. He feels like a mutual beneficial relationship with a woman is what he needs to be married to get into this partnership with his law firm. And he's like, hey, I had a 6-month plan and you came in with a wrecking ball and just blew it to smithereens. I really want to know why. And from there, he's like, all right, well, if you wanted to pay me back because you feel so indebted, pretend to be my girlfriend and come to this retreat with me. Her parents are toxic in this situation. His parents are deceased. So it's a lot of parental maneuvering and navigating through how that plays onto them as adults in the relationships they have. Then you go into the sequel, which I had an art copy of, and that is Ravaged. This one is, again, a sports romance. You have Miriam, who is extremely bright. She's like she was a whiz kid. So she graduated from college, I think at the age of like 18 or something like that. Her brain works exceptional, but she is very quirky. And she lets almost anything come out of her mouth. But that's because she's kind of conditioned herself to be like that. So she decided, hey, I had a traumatic experience when I was in college because while I was exceptionally gifted in knowledge, I wasn't fully formed in my emotions and socialization. And she has a traumatic experience, so that kind of puts her off of dating, especially dating athletes. And then she meets Cyrus's best friend, Jordan, and she's like, you're hot. She will willingly give her body, but she won't give her emotions. And they actually or turn into being best friends. So this is the friends to lovers sports romance. And Jordan falls in love with Miriam. Like, he knows that this is his person, but he knows that she won't date him. And so what is he left to do but be her friend? And he's been pining after her so much to where he just wants to see her happy. And he may decide that maybe she's better being happy with someone else. And I've got a team full of good guys, one in particular that I want to set her up with. Well, this entire book, they are fighting the true feelings and the true natures of each other, of wanting to be together, knowing that that's your person, but you don't want to end and break up that friendship. And I loved it. I gave this 4 stars and want to read more from Naima Simone. So she is an author that I'm probably going to go through and read her backlist. Outside of that, I will say I participated in the Kindle Unlimited Readathon, where I picked up these last 2 books. So I picked up Forbidden Mafia Prince by Ella Frank, and I can't remember the other author. I'll put it up on the screen. But this was just meh. I gave it 3 stars. It had all of the premise. Like, if you look at this cover, it has a beautiful cover. The title was catchy. Like, everything about it was set up to work. You've got, it's the male-male romance, which you typically don't see, especially in a mafia romance. But you've got Domenico, who's known as Dom, and Luca. Luca is a medical student who was going on his journey to start his medical rotation, and he's captured by the Rossetti family. So they find out that he's kind of been an implant. So like, Luca has absolutely no relation to his family. He didn't even know that he was adopted. He believed that his parents are two, normal, average, everyday Joes, right? And they've raised him with morals, and lo and behold, he's actually the heir to a crime mafia family that the Rossettis are against. So they start to have a desire for one another because of, sheer proximity. Unfortunately, there was something missing for me. Like, usually when you meet when there is 2 rival families, you would assume that there's like drama and angst. And granted, Luca didn't know that he was a part of this family. So I think maybe that played against their romance, because he just wasn't invested in the family drama. It was just meh. Like, it wasn't enough angst. There wasn't enough tension. There wasn't enough spice. Like, it was a read for me. However, the last and final book I read for the month, also a part of the Kindle Unlimited series, was 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, Infinity, and that is Restore Me by J.L. Seekers. This is, a lot of people compare J.L. Seekers to Kennedy Ryan for good reason. This is a love story that is dealing with like complex emotions, complex situation. This centers Dominic and Sloane. So Sloane was married, and her husband passed away about 4 years ago from a drunk driver. And she has kind of been in a situation where she's grieved her husband for 4 years, and she is clinging on to the relationship of her best friend, which is her deceased husband's sister and mother. And she really doesn't need any more love and affection outside of that. And she puts and channels all of her, hours and being and herself into her business that she owns. Well, on the flip side, you've got Dominic, who is the best friend of Eric, which is Sloane's former husband. But he's been in love and pining over Sloane for 12 years. Now, you're thinking, what a sleazeball, but I promise you that's not the case. Dominic actually met Sloane first. So Sloane met Dominic at a party, but she was intoxicated, and she was dealing with her toxic mother at the time, which, again, toxic parents. So she was going out to a party with her friend. She meets Dominic. They have an amazing night. in which they are kindred souls, right? They're twin flames, and they have this connection, but she doesn't remember it the next morning. And he left her without, to be honorable and respectful of her, right? He didn't want to take advantage of her. Well, after she wakes up, she goes and hangs out with her mother, and she meets Eric. So she meets both of these male characters within 24 hours, but she only remembers one. So this entire time, Dominic has been pining for her. He has loved her, but he loves his friend and wanted to see his friend happy. And now is finally the time where he feels that, hey, maybe I can let my guard down and show her that I am not her enemy and I truly do care and want the best for her. This is just perfection. Like, because they have this deep history, but it's only one-sided. Sloan has absolutely no clue as to why his emotions for her are so hostile. But that's because he remembers everything that she forgets. And the true thing that I find out that I love about this is that, or Dominic never asked her to put her love for Eric aside. That was his best friend. They both shared a love for a person, and they're grieving their loss, but they find a way to connect and keep him at the forefront of their relationship while exploring something new. And I think that's exceptionally beautiful that J.L. Seegers was able to do that, because most times in a situation, no one ever wants to be the second best or the runner-up. And Sloan makes sure that Dominic does not feel that. Once she finally realizes, hey, this person loves me and he accepts me wholly as the woman I am, and I want to make sure that he knows that I don't see him as a second best. I see them as two different equal beings, and I could not be the woman that he sees and he knows and loves today if it was not for Eric. So I will tell you that this is iconic, and I can't wait to read the rest of the New Haven series. I've got Revive Me on my shelf. I think before I jump into that, I'll read Again, which is the novella. But absolutely adored. Wonderful way to end my January reading season. And that being said, again, tell me in the comments what you all think of the new microphone. Do you like it? Do I need to work with it a little bit more? I'll ask that you all do me a favor, and if you could leave me some sort of heart emoji, whether that's a heartbreak, it is the colored heart, whatever kind of heart you can for Heartless Hero, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.